despite having that heartwarming exchange with ChatGPT, and it helped me with my title and everything, I do have to say, as someone who works in a creative role, I was initially pretty terrified. I thought, all the creative content that we do is going to be, turned into kind of mush and churned out spam, and it's going to kill creativity. Is AI going to take my job, and all that kind of thing. So this is actually supposed to be the contrast, where it's all great, but I can, seeing it this size, it has actually also a very creepy image. But this is supposed to be the positive image. And then I thought, I've been maybe thinking about generative AI all wrong. And I thought, it doesn't have to be used to be dishonest or lazy or, to cut corners. I mean, it's really great if you want to do all those things. It's really good at that. But it can also be used for, streamlining content strategy, maximizing assets, and just digging deeper into your subject matter. And so, yeah, that's when I started to play around with it a bit in the, play around with it a bit in the work that I do. I'm looking at it through the lens of B2B communications, really, because that's what I specialize in, but hopefully it'll maybe spark something that's relevant to other people in the room. So generative AI tools, when I put together this presentation, I actually went into quite a lot of excruciating detail on the different tools that I've used and found useful. But then, when I read it through, this is only a kind of quick 15-minute talk, and also you're all capable of looking at all the different tools yourself and playing around with them. So this is just a real snapshot of a couple of the ones that I've used or seen used in a really creative way. You've got your generative AI chatbots, text to video, text to image, voice generators, avatar creators, and image upscalers, and all the rest of it. You get the idea. So there's loads of different things you can do. And if you're not sure, there's an AIforthat.com has loads of other things that you can look at and play around with. So good news, my company has a new client. Yay! This is EcoEdge Packaging Solutions. They're a brand new company that manufactures sustainable packaging solutions, and I made them up. So they're not real client, but I thought rather than use an actual client example, it would be better to just put something together that I can use to help visualize some of the things I'm talking about. Strategy and research. In hindsight, it's not really the sexiest thing that I could have focused on to talk about AI, but we are where we are. We're talking about strategy, so that's what I'm going to kind of focus on. For me, this is a real biggie, is using it for strategic planning and research, which is a huge part of what I do. And that can be research, it could be customer research, background research on markets, competitor research, or just the kind of research that we need to do whenever we're putting a piece of content together. And I have to stress, this isn't a substitute for immersing yourself in the relevant subject matter. That's never going to be a negotiable when it comes to communications. But it's about collating information faster, thinking differently, and letting AI do what it's way better at doing than humans, which is analyzing large data sets and identifying patterns and trends. So let's say we want to carry out some customer research for EcoEdge that will help to inform our communication strategy. We want to know, what are our customer pain points? What are their preferences? What's important to them? What's important to their customers? But of course, EcoEdge is a brand new made-up company. We don't have access to some of the more detailed customer data that more established made-up companies may have. So this is a way of kind of simulating that. So what I did first was I asked ChatGPT to come up with an interview script that I could use to find this information. Just what I've discussed, what are the pain points? What are the preferences? What kind of behaviors can we glean from this information? Which it did. It did a great job of providing me with an interview script. Obviously, it was quite basic. The prompt was basic. You can go as granular and as in-depth as you want to with this kind of project. And the next thing I did, once I had my script, was I asked it to create some customer personas based on the industries that we cover. And again, something you can go into a lot of detail on, and it came up with 4 customer profiles across 4 fictional customer companies in our target markets. And then what I did, I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this, I used the interview script and asked it to answer all the questions as each of these customer personas that it has come out with. So then I have all this wealth of information, pulled from lots of different sets of data that can then pretty authentically simulate sort of genuine customer behaviors. And so once I have those responses, I now have, as I said, a wealth of data pulled from these kind of impossibly attractive customer personas that it's given us. And that's across health and wellness, I think wine and spirits, food and beverage, and I think that one's cosmetics. So just as a quick example, just to pull out one of them, it's come up with this persona, and some of the insights it's given us is that tamper evidence and UV protection are really important to them for their packaging, that they're exploring kind of more innovative materials that offer better sustainability profiles, and that they expect to kind of continuously be looking at how they can improve their sustainable packaging. And so this exercise, as I said, it's a basic example, but it can already spark a multitude of content ideas that's targeted at our specific customer markets. Finally, I asked it to comb through all the information from our personas and identify patterns and trends and insights that might be useful to inform our communications strategy. And again, the more detailed you go, the more you're going to get out of it. But for the purposes of this example, it came out with things like the importance of sustainability as part of a core part of the brand identity, the challenges of balancing eco-friendliness with packaging functionality, the role of aesthetics, customers who cared about sustainability also, in my example anyway, favored a minimalist design with neutral colors. And then there were some industry-specific insights as well, such as tamper evidence in the health and wellness and freshness when it comes to food and beverage. So why do this? Why bother, doing this? And I can only speak for myself, but why do I use generative AI in this way? I think for me there are a few reasons. Projects that can take, perhaps days can be pretty well fleshed out, in an afternoon, and then enhanced and refined from there. Also, like I said, if you're a brand new company or you're launching a new product or you're launching a new brand, you don't have that wealth of data. And sometimes maybe you do, but your data's maybe a bit of a mess or it's not as organized as it could be. So this kind of helps you get started. And also, unlike search engines, generative AI really thrives off specific prompts, those kind of context-rich, specific conversational interactions, which can be really useful. And, I work in a small team, as well as FuturePrint, my business has a small team. You don't have that luxury of a load of people to bounce ideas off and maybe brainstorm with. So this can be a really useful substitute for that as well. And it just means you can role play a bit and delve deeper into creative concepts, uncover more layers than you otherwise may have been able to do. And as a side note, I've also seen it used in creative ways, like PR and marketing professionals almost using it to find out whether an idea is bad. They kind of say, here's our creative concept for our campaign. Why might this be considered cliche or overused? And then generative AI can come back. So I think that was really interesting as well. And more. This is a quick talk, so we're obviously only going to scratch the surface, like with all the other talks we've had. But I will just quickly go through some of the other things that I have used it for or think that it's an interesting application to use it for. So diving deeper into research, as I said, this can be such a powerful tool for digging deeper into the research that you need to do in creative roles. Again, GPTs, this is custom GPTs from ChatGPT 4. Maybe I need to find some academic research that supports the insights that we found in our customer insights. Maybe I want to see how our topic is being discussed on social media, in what context, what's the frequency, who and what are people saying about it. Maybe I want to find an influencer or a spokesperson that would be a good fit for our creative campaign. Or maybe I want to find up-to-the-minute financial market data from a financial analyst. So it's a really, really good jumping-off point for that. Planning and maximizing content. So I think I think it was the Springfield Solutions really hit the nail on the head when they did that kind of real-life demo and talked about this can be a way of inspiring. You know, they put the prompt in. That's not going to be what they use, but it could inspire someone to get started with their graphic design. And it's the same with written content as well. I think anyone who creates content regularly kind of knows the blank screen, the blinking cursor. You know, you're sat there with a blank page. It's hard to get started. So I think that's quite familiar. So it's really good for getting you off the starting blocks. And I think, you know, I'm not interested in using it, even though despite what I did at the beginning with the title was obviously just for the purposes of the talk. I'm actually not interested in putting in a prompt and having it spit something out and then using that. I think it's much better at just helping you outline things and using it as a jumping off point. And then that's where creative professionals, sort of PR and communications professionals perhaps, like myself, come in. So I think you put something in, it's going to spit something out that's probably not that great, the first version. It might be factually incorrect. And it's not going to be as tailored as it could be because, well, it's not a good idea to put your proprietary or confidential company information into the generative AI. So it's not going to be as tailored as it could be. So to engage with humans, you do need humans for now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but for now we are still worth the money, I'm happy to say. And maximizing is pretty self-explanatory. It's just about, you know, when you create a piece of content, particularly in communications, you want to get the most out of it. You put a lot of effort and resources into it. And generative AI can be great at helping you kind of outline that repurposing of that content. So that might be a piece of research that becomes a blog post, becomes a batch of social media posts, becomes a podcast or video script, and so on. So again, that output is going to be an outline, but it gets you started, and it's really good for getting you started on that. Enhancing media relations, and we've got some industry journalists in the room, so don't get freaked out, but it can be really good for enhancing media relations, which is a huge part of why people like myself, communications people, exist, is to kind of make your lives and jobs a little bit easier. I was a print industry journalist before moving into communications, so I can speak for myself. In fact, one of the other speakers is actually to blame for getting me into the industry almost a decade ago. You get a lot of press releases and pitches every day. A lot of them won't be relevant to that journalist's beat or even the wider publication. So using kind of an AI-powered search engine, say, for my made-up client, it would be sustainable packaging, or it might be sustainability in general. It might be packaging. You might need to find out who the journalist is in those different geographies. You can kind of using their publicly available body of work, you can kind of see how it might not be that difficult to create an editor profile in a similar way that we built the customer profile. Then you can kind of use that to, again, bounce those ideas off, craft your pitch a bit more so it's tailored to what they want. You know, you can say, is this of interest to you? Are they going to pass on that? How can we tailor it a bit more to make sure it would land? And that's good for journalists. They're getting specific stuff into their inbox instead of a load of spam that they have to sift through. And it's good for people like me as well, because my client has a higher chance of getting that coverage. And there's also a lot you can do with reporting and measuring and analytics for PR, but we don't have time for all that, but it's also really, really useful in that way as well. So I'm just going to leave you with some final thoughts on that. Fact check. Do your due diligence. AI, as other people have covered, is not perfect, it gets things wrong, it hallucinates. So yeah, do your fact checking and your due diligence. It's not about cutting corners, as I said, it's about streamlining. Build your own toolkit. So this is, as I said, there's loads of different things you can play around with. You can find what works for you. AI can be a built-in virtual assistant. It can be a panel of experts. It can help you with your reporting, social listening, anything that you need to streamline some of your processes. Trust is everything. This is another one that's a huge topic that, again, we don't have time to go completely into. But trust, particularly in creative industries, trust in media, trust in what we read, what we publish, is at risk. So you need to make sure that you're using AI ethically and responsibly, but also it's an opportunity to be that trusted resource. Build trust in your company, your content, yourself, whatever you need to do. Protect confidentiality is pretty self-explanatory. Don't offer up, shed loads of confidential information to generative AI. And then finally, get creative. We are still at the fun stage of this technology at the moment, so do have fun with it and experiment. And if anyone is interested in any of the things I've covered or any of the tools that I quickly mentioned, just let me know. And yeah, play around with it, and it may surprise you. And that's it. That's all I've got.